Hey guys, welcome to Up the Coast. We have a very special episode for you right here in the middle of the season. We have the Georgia Tech head coach, Aileen Morales. Alex, you want to give a little intro to our special guest?
Yeah, Coach Morales, otherwise known as AMO, is one of the most decorated softball players ever in Georgia Tech history. She's a Hall of Famer. She's a former member of the Puerto Rican national team, and it's her 8th season as the Georgia Tech head coach. Somebody that we have really respected watching build her program kind of ever since she took over. And we're really excited.
Stand by. Here's Coach Morales. Hey guys, we are here with Coach Morales, the head coach of Georgia Tech. We are so grateful for her to take the time, especially in the middle of the season, the heart of things, coming off a long road trip, a lot of games. Really appreciate you being here, Coach. And I also want to give a shout out to Anthony Hartwig. He also put some pressure on us on social media to get you on here. I know he's a big supporter of Georgia Tech. Did you get to see him last weekend in Pitt? Did I see a picture?
Yeah, it's always great to see him. But yeah, we got to run into him at Pitt. He came on Friday and Sunday, so him and his mom. And so they're great supporters of the program. I mean, huge Georgia Tech fans. And so anytime we get to see him, it's awesome. And so I think last year he got to come down to Atlanta, but this year we got to see him in Pitt. So I think it's a little easier trip for him driving wise. So yeah, great. And I appreciate him pushing y'all a little bit and love to be here, guys. I know what y'all do is awesome. So appreciate getting some time to talk with y'all about all things up the coast.
Yeah. I met Anthony years and years ago when I was playing in Akron, and I've just stayed in contact with him through social media. I've seen him throw a first pitch out down there, so great dude.
He's awesome. Yeah, we are fortunate and always brings good vibes and supports kind of all of our athletics programs. And big fans of all the women's sports.
Well, speaking of all the women's sports as a whole, I'd like to get your thought, big picture right now on the ACC as a whole, softball as a whole this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think the conference is doing extremely well. I think obviously the additions of Stanford and Cal have been huge. The season that Stanford's having as well as Cal. So I think adding two programs that were in postseason last year, obviously where Stanford went all the way to the World Series, it is great to have. And I think it's only made the conference better. I think when you look from top to bottom or throughout the conference, it's really a lot more parity. And I think you're seeing that as we've rolled into 4 weeks of conference play, rolling into week 5 this weekend. Just a ton of parity. And I think that has only made the conference better. And so it's exciting to just see, right? Like anybody can beat anybody. And that maybe wasn't the case maybe, 10 years ago and 5 years ago as well. And so it's, everybody's trying to make it a more competitive product. And so it's exciting to see.
I think this is the first week of like conference standings that I've looked at and been like, oh God, like it really is crazy right now. I guess, has anybody like surprised you team wise so far?
Man, I mean, I think Virginia picked up right where they left off last year. I think they're doing a phenomenal job. I think we knew Cal would be tough. Stanford, we knew would be a tough addition as well. And so, Florida State's coming on strong. Recently had a really convincing wins last week on the road at Tuscaloosa and in Durham. And so I think, it's been fun to see. And I just think across the board, like every weekend is a tough matchup, and you can't take any win you get in this conference for granted.
And you're the only team that's played the newcomers, both Cal and Stanford already.
Somehow.
How interested is the preparation for playing a 3-game series against a new team in the conference a little bit different because you may not know their tendencies as well as you do other schools that you've been playing for years?
Yeah, I think the Pac-12 style it is maybe a little different, and so there were maybe not programs we're as familiar with. The beauty of Stanford was we got to play them down in Clearwater a year prior, so a little bit more familiarity at least with kind of how they play. And then, Cal, I don't think anybody on our roster had been. I mean, I'd been to the Bay Area for like a weekend, like to hang out, but like I don't think any of us had been there besides our Oregon State transfer. So that in general, just the unfamiliarity is something new, right? And so, they play tough. They play extremely competitive and gritty. And so we knew that would be a battle going into their place. But yeah, I think, again, the more you play teams, the more you get comfortable with the style of play, what type of offenses, what type of arms they have. I think that builds comfort and that builds familiarity. And so, yeah, I think for us, obviously 2 new opponents, and it's exciting to play them because they've only elevated our conference. And so it's cool to go to some new places, find some new things to see, right? And right, we got to play the schedule we're given. We were excited to kind of move around and bounce around San Fran with some free time during spring break. And so that was cool for our players too, a lot of them.
Tell us a little bit about where you guys feel like you are right now, just team wise. What are some things that you feel like you're doing really well as a squad? And then where are some of the areas that you feel like, okay, we could tighten this up a little bit?
Sorry, can you repeat that one a little bit? Kind of cut out.
Yeah, so just like tell us a little bit about where you think the team is right now. What are we, a month and a half, almost 2 months in the season, and some of what you think that your squad is doing really well, and then some of the areas that you feel like they need to tighten up.
Yeah, I think, one of the number one emphasis we had coming into this year was, to improve in the circle. And I think Kinsey Norton and Sophia Boyles have been stellar for us, as well as, Matt Caulfield just coming in. She's just she's a firewoman, and she gets outs for us, and she wants the ball in big moments. And so I think that was one thing that we knew, if we could keep games closer, that we'd have a chance offensively. And so I've been really proud of the work that Aaron's put in with the pitching staff, and to see those improvements from last year. And then, I think defensively we're young. And so there have been, moments where it's been challenging. And, obviously as a defensive coach, that can be frustrating at times. But I think that that's the area that, like, we need to improve in even more. There are outs on the table that, we have not consistently produced. And so if the pitchers are producing weak contact, we as a defense have to convert those into outs. And so I think that's the piece that down this back end of the season, if we clean that up, we're going to be in great shape. And so it's a constant messaging, and it's a constant thing that we talk about with the team. That's not anything new to them. I think, though, with so many new pieces and new players playing together, it was going to take some time. And so hoping that, this is kind of our bye weekend from conference play, but not necessarily a bye weekend from opponents. And so, hoping, maybe a little reset, a little more time to practice and do some things on the field can help, us get a little bit more on track with that. Just really been excited about the production from different players throughout the lineup as well. And I think, there's going to be ebbs and flows in season, as with anything. And so, just trying to be more consistent. I still don't think we've played our best softball yet, which is, can be good and bad, right? But can be frustrating at times. But also, like, I think when we put it all together, we are an extremely challenging team to face, and put us up against anybody in the country.
Yeah, you mentioned your youth. You are a young team, but two of your freshmen really coming through, Alyssa and Grayson. Alyssa in ACC play, she's batting .429, .857 slugging, .550 on base, and added 4 home runs in just ACC play. And then Grayson's leading your team in home runs and 32 RBIs. How have they just, been able to come into ACC play and play almost like a veteran?
Well, I think that, Tuck has the luxury of, like, she was here last fall. She had a little injury. And so she got a little bit of experience in preseason last year before her injury. And so, but from an actual playing standpoint, a freshman, right? And so she's always been a great hitter. And so, she's going to be in the middle of the lineup for us. And when she's on, we're going to be really scary, right? And so I think that the production from her, obviously you hope you're going to get it, but it's been really fun to see. And, we want her up in big moments, and she wants to be up in big moments. And I think that those are two things that have to both be in the positive, right? Like, you've got to want to be in the moment. You've got to want to be in the pressure moment. All the best hitters, all the best athletes want that pressure. And so I think she's somebody who thrives on that. So that's exciting. And then, man, Alyssa Willer, she doesn't have like a slow button. Like, it's 100%. She's going to go, and she's going to go 100%. And, just been really proud of how much she's grown from the first day she stepped on campus, because she's been committed to getting better. And she goes full speed every day at practice, all her reps. And I think, that stuff's paying off for her. So it's been really cool just to see her development. We put her all over kind of the place. She's played left, right. I mean, heck, we had her on the dirt in scrimmages. So, like, she's just an athlete, and she competes. And that's what I love about her. I think, there's a lot of people who like to play softball, and then there's a lot of people who want to compete at softball. And I think that there is a difference in the two. And finding people who want to compete day in and day out are the athletes that you want to build your roster around. Those are two of them.
How do you stay current? So you mentioned, like, the talent of the ACC, right? 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and that's changed. But today's athlete is way different as well from even 5 years ago. How do you stay current just with your style and your methods?
I'm sorry, cut out.
Sorry. How do you stay current and just, like, up to date with the way in which you coach, the way you approach your athletes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's ever changing, right? And I'm only getting older and they're staying the same age, which like it's like they're always going to be 18 to 22. And so I think that obviously the game continues to be a very offensive minded game. And, programs have went more to pitching staffs, like that's something that you have to do to stay relevant and stay up to date. I think, obviously like Lonnie at Florida State has done a phenomenal job with that and starting that. And you've seen that kind of breed across, I'm not saying she's the only one, but very much has set that standard, right? And if using a staff. And so as you see all programs across the country doing that, because the offenses are so good. There's so much technology, there's so much information, which maybe wasn't as readily available. There's so much film available, just, the game being on TV consistently, which is huge for the sport. And so you have to consistently find ways to find competitive advantages. Just because the team in the other dugout is going to try to beat you, right? Every single day. Every plan you come up with can be great and laid out and awesome. And then guess what? That group in the other dugout is still going to try to find a counter and then a counter to your counter. And so we have to very much talk with them about the game within the game and all those things that come into it. And, at the end of the day, they're still people competing and, they're not robots, and we have to remember that as well.
You're talking about competing and counter punching, and there's been 6 games where you got the last punch and won via walk-off with 6 different players, which I thought was incredible. Paige, Ella, Jaden, Grayson, Reese, and most recently Grace against Auburn with the walk-off. Having a young team and seeing that fight to the very last pitch, what can you say to that?
I love their fight. I think we believe we can be in any game regardless of score. I think it's a blessing and a curse at times because I think that, we are comfortable regardless and we don't necessarily press. And also, I think that there is a time when you need to be able to put the foot on the gas. And so I think that's the piece as an offense, as a young team that we've got to grow in better is understanding, like, that's great that we're not pressing, but we only have 7 innings, right? And so we have to understand that every at bat, every pitch, every inning matters. And so I think that's the other kind of growth piece that, we're constantly trying to talk through as a coaching staff as well and trying to train that into them as well. It's like, there's only so many outs, right, in the game. And it's great that we would love to walk it off all the time. That's, awesome. But if you consistently put yourself in that position, you're not always going to come out on top either. And so I think that there is very much pros and cons to that. And I love that we never feel out of it. And also, like, we got to put the gas on the pedal sometimes as well.
When you were here, when you were playing in the Mississippi State tournament, you were talking about how this team will probably see more doubles. We were talking about all the home runs from last year. Then this year we'll probably see some more doubles. But you've really picked up the power. You're leading the conference with 16 home runs in ACC play. Is that just a testament to the growth from the young ones, or what are you seeing there?
I think good things happen when you swing the bat with intent, right? And so, like, I don't think we're going up there trying to hit home runs. I think we're trying to get a good pitch to hit. And when you barrel it, good things happen. I think that, I didn't know that we had 16. So every time I do one of these things, somebody hits me with a stat I don't know. And then I look like I'm not a good coach. But like, I think that, from that standpoint, I do think as you continue to see great pitching, as you continue to get into the season, like, you hope those power numbers continue to develop. But I think for us, like, barreling balls and hitting good swings on balls is what we're talking about. And if those turn into home runs, great. If they're doubles and they score runs, awesome as well.
Did your approach?
I'm interested.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Alex.
Your approach offensively last year look any different than it did this year? Obviously, numbers are different, but just I attribute that to a lot of the youth.
Well, I think there's a couple pieces there. I do think like our strength of schedule is a lot more challenging this year than last year. If I was just like kind of numbering that, so I think some of the arms have been a little bit more challenging versus, again, not discrediting last year at all, just the youth that we have from a standpoint of facing college pitching versus last year, which was a more experienced roster of facing college pitching. So I don't necessarily know approach has changed. I think it's just like teaching an approach more from a standpoint of, we don't have as many collegiate at-bats under our belt. So there is going to be inconsistencies at time, and players are going to press in the box at times because they just don't have as many at-bats at this level. And that is a piece of it. I think there's, a big amount of it. We sometimes don't credit what experience does for us, right? And so I think that they have to live through and learn through some failures in order to get to those successes. And we talk with our team about that a lot. Like, the game, the beauty of the game is like it gives you opportunities to fail, succeed, be the hero, the person who costs us and everything in between, right? And if you look at it like that, it's really great perspective, because when you do come out on top and hit the walk off, right? You remember when you were the one who struck out to end the game too, right? And you appreciate those opportunities and those moments more, because all we're promised in doing this is an opportunity to compete. You're not guaranteed anything more than that. And so I think having that perspective is very huge for them, especially being young.
You talk about all those emotions that softball can bring you, from being the highest to the lowest point. I'm wondering, what's your dugout like? What's it like riding on the bus with this team?
All right, so there's Addie Leshber is like the DJ. She's kind of become the DJ on the way to the field, and so she gets the aux or the Bluetooth. And we can't discuss all the songs that are played; they're not radio appropriate at times. I think it just depends what day of the week it is and what vibe they're in, and so it goes a lot of different ways on the Bluetooth. But I think that we enjoy what we do. We want to have fun. I think it needs to be loose to a certain extent, with the right balance. And so, yeah, it's a fun group. I mean, obviously, if we don't win the ball game, it's not a fun group on the bus. We're going to be pretty quiet, and it's not going to be a fun ride back to the hotel. But I think that's most competitive teams. Most teams that want to win at a high level, the losses are going to matter, and we're going to enjoy the wins as well. So, fun group. They cheer a lot in the dugout. Not everybody might like the cheers, but I think that sometimes if you want to create energy and you want to create, a competitive advantage, and if that's a way that you choose to do it, that's a little bit of our dugout as well, and can get a little chippy every now and then, and as long as we keep it right, and as long as we're not crossing any lines, we want them to be who they are, and I think that they have to be who they are, and so I think it's a fun competitive environment. They're gonna say some cheers to try to get under some people's skin every now and then, and it's your choice if you want to let it bother you or not. That's kind of how I look at it.
I like it. Do you ever get asked to do the TikTok dances?
No, I'm not a very good dancer. I don't know if I think they know I wouldn't excel at that, but they probably get some good views. I tell them all the time I'm a walking meme, so it's just a matter of which clip the ACC network gets of me in real time, the top step of the dugout or whatever. I think they had a pretty funny one on the Auburn walk off. Like we were laughing about it in the group chat because I was excited and I jumped up and Aaron caught me and they were like it was like a whole joke. Like it was it was like we were on Titanic, at the song play. It was this like
That's great
group. So we had some funny laughs on that. And, it's fun to enjoy those moments and enjoy those with your team. So yeah, but I'm sorry, I don't have any good TikToks lately. TikTok is banned in the state of Georgia, so I can't even do it anymore. Like, I'm a governor and all that, so I got to keep my job, so I can't be on that TikTok.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
In state employees, yeah,
Really?
yeah. So I'm a state employee.
Yeah. So, Alex, why are you trying to get her fired?
Sorry,
I just got on the Instagram reels to find the relevant stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, I gotta stay on Instagram reels to find the TikTok trends 5 weeks later or whatever it is.
A couple more questions. Looking to next year, is there any kind of rule changes or anything personally you would like to see? Because it's a rule change year next year. I know there's a lot of discussion about the double bag. We can rewrite obstruction for the 18th millionth time, pitch clock things, pitch calm. Anything you think you'd like to see?
Yeah, I think for me personally, the double bag is not the hill I'm going to die on. I know there's a lot of people on both sides of it. I can see both arguments for it. I think if you make a bad throw, I don't know if a double bag is going to matter.
I'm right with you, 100%.
There's a lot of confusion with it, but we want to talk about safety, and we believe that it's going to create a safer environment, then absolutely I'm going to always support athlete safety. I think that there's a lot of nuance within that. Obstruction, it changes every year. Whatever iteration we do of that, I guess we'll just buckle up and see. Like truly, I think we should get our challenges back. I think the umpires should be held accountable for how many times they get challenges wrong. Like I think that matters because right now you only get 2 of them, and those are important. There's been a lot of challenges that changed the course of our games, and there's a skill with that as well, and knowing when to challenge and when to use it. And so I think that if we get it right, we should be able to have it back. And why are we faulted? I mean, if we have runners leaving early and umpires can't see it, I understand a short amount of time, but like clearly leaving early, our umpires should be getting that right. And so we shouldn't have to be wasting challenges on that. So I think that's a little bit of something that I believe we probably should be pushing for. And then I'm a big proponent of I just think technology could probably be pushed more in our game. And I think that, you know, a lot of people are scared of it to a certain extent. I know there was a thing a while back where they were letting like all sorts of technology in, like, you know, TVs in the, like being able to watch stuff back in the dugout. And I think that there's some more things that we could probably dive into if we were willing to just, you know, be more up to date with what's even going on. I mean, when you look at what baseball is doing, I mean, there's iPads and dugouts, there's all these things. And I just think that we could grow as well from that standpoint. But, you know, that's my 2 cents on all those things,
like
if it matters or not. But I do think that there's a lot of information that can be gained, and you still got to hit what the pitcher's throwing. You still got to, you know, it's still you versus her in that batter's box. You know, having more real-time info could be useful, but you still got to beat her in real time. You don't get that information enough in the box, right? You still got to see it and hit it. And so I think that there's some pieces there where I believe we could build some more technology in. I mean, you got a pitch comm, you got somebody talking to somebody in a ear. Like maybe we could streamline some of this, and you got like somebody with another defensive thing on this. It just seems like a lot of different pieces. Like if there's a way to streamline that, because
But you can't use the pitch comm on offense.
yeah, and then yeah, right. And so there's just a lot of layers to that where it's like I understand why, but also what like this just seems like a lot of pieces of equipment that maybe we could streamline. I don't know, but
Efficiency, right?
yeah,
People like you're a very efficient
people who
person.
are smarter than me that could solve that. But I just think that that's a piece of it as well. Like I think we played one team and they had like a pitch comm here, and then they had a defensive thing here, and I'm like, I didn't want to play with anything on my wrist. Mm-hmm. They got all these things, you know, that they're trying to do, and I'm like, do we have a feel for the game anymore?
Right.
Like, and that's a piece of it too, because like elite athletes understand the game, and like they have a feel for the game, and the scouts and all those things are really valuable. And are we taking instincts away from players?
That's a really valid point.
I was gonna say, I just want to know about the big green egg. How's it doing? And have you gotten
Alex, your internet's kind of.
Man, can you hear me?
But she looks so happy over here.
I'm so happy.
Poor thing. We're having some difficulties from Florida. Well, the last thing I'm going to ask, since we're not going to get to Alex's question, I'm sure it was probably the best question she's ever had for you.
She got to text this. You got to text it.
Yeah, text me the question, Alex, and I'll ask. You have your off weekend right this weekend, but it's not really an off weekend. You've really challenged your team this year with the scheduling and a lot of SEC opponents this weekend. You got Oklahoma State Thursday, Friday, and then Penn State Sunday. And it's Bark in the Park Day. You have a couple dogs, Frenchies?
Yeah, we have 2 Frenchies. They cannot be present. The one at Lola is a disaster. So Gus is the goodest boy, and Lola is a disaster. So yeah, they're gonna be at the house. They'll have to, you know, just no.
Did you have Gus first and then?
Gus is the goodest boy, and then we got stuck with Lola.
So you thought all Frenchies were great, and
yeah, you don't ever get a second one. The second one is always the wild child. No, yeah, Bark in the Park on Sunday. So excited to have some puppers out there and at the park, and hopefully barking at, you know, the Nittany Lions.
There you go. Well, I hope you and your team get some rest from your long trip and lots of games and all over from the West Coast to the Northeast to back home, and you recovered and take some games this weekend. We really appreciate you being here and taking the time to talk with us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Anytime you guys, you know, cover our program, it means a lot. And so we're definitely appreciative. And, you know, it's been a fun year so far. And yeah, looking forward to this next month. Some good matchups. Yeah.
We'll see you up in Boston for the tournament.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.